This is my first time going public about my encounter, out of fear of seeing it again. This took place roughly 14 years ago. When I was a kid, my family moved out of the city and moved to a small town called Deerbrook. Deerbrook is situated on the outskirts of Antigua, Wisconsin. Our house was surrounded by woods on 3 sides and a field with the river in the back. Other than constant coyote howls every night, the first year out there was really calm and relaxing. Every so often there would be a different howl. It was a deeper, much louder howl. It would shake my family to our core. My parents would dismiss it as a wolf or just a large coyote, but something about it seemed off. One night in mid-July, my brother, my sister, and I decided to pitch a tent in the back field along the tree line. We just wanted to go camping. We sat with sticks roasting our marshmallows, telling each other stories till it got really dark. A little while later, we started to hear the typical howls. But once again, that deep howl was back, and it sounded like it was right in our ears. The howl was so loud, it was hard to even guess what direction it was coming from. We decided to put out our fire and get in the tent. My sister soon fell asleep, so my brother and I chatted and made jokes. Within minutes, we heard animals running around outside the tent. This little raccoon started to claw at the side of the tent that I was sleeping on, so I kept poking back at it. But then we heard something else, the crack of sticks from the trees. My brother thought it was a bear and told me to be quiet, and he woke my sister up. The animals we were hearing before all went silent, and the raccoon at the side of my tent bolted out of there. We then started to hear heavy footsteps coming closer and closer. Pretty soon they were right next to the tent. I started to notice a strange odor coming from outside. It smelled like copper, sulfur, and wet dog blended together. It was almost overpowering and made me want to puke. Then we hear our mom calling for us to come inside. As she shined a flashlight on us, it revealed the most unsettling thing I have ever seen. The shadow of this thing was shining through our tent, and it was massive. It had pointed ears that were tilted back like a dog on the prowl, and its hands were human-like with long fingers that ended in a point. The mouth was in the shape of a snout just a little shorter, and it had a mid-sized tail. My mom started screaming, and whatever that thing was bolted back into the woods. The 3 of us rushed inside our house. The encounter frightened us so bad that we didn't go back out for a few days. Fast forward a few months. I was in the living room with my mom while my sister was in the shower. We were watching the Wheel of Fortune when my sister screamed bloody murder. My mom jumped up and went to go get her. She pulled her out of the bathroom. I got curious as to why my sister was freaking out, so I went in to check. Above the shower, there is a super small window that only a small head could fit through. As I look up towards the window, I notice a set of red, glowing eyes staring down at me. We stared at each other for what felt like a decade. I didn't feel fear, more just curiosity, and I didn't feel like I was in danger at that time. My mom came in and pulled me out of the bathroom. The rest of the night was quiet after that. A few days later, my brother came back from his dad's. Him and I had bunk beds, so I'd always take the bottom bunk. That night was kind of gloomy. It wasn't really windy, but it was drizzling a little. Later in the night, my brother and I got woken up to our bedroom window being opened. This struck me as odd, as I was sure we locked it before we went to bed. Not thinking too much of it, we just closed and locked the window, then went back to bed. The window opened again and again like this 3 more times. Each time we locked it. The final time was the worst. It flung open so hard that the glass shattered. However, this time my brother and I saw why the window opened forcefully. To our horror, we see this giant clawed hand recoil slowly. The same hand from the tent a few months ago, but I could see it clearly now. It had matted black fur, or hair rather, covering its whole arm. The skin on its palm was like a light tan, and the claws were about 5 to 6 inches long. And on the bottom of the window, I saw glowing bright red eyes. They looked like embers of a roaring fire. My brother and I bolted up, grabbed my sister, and locked ourselves in the back gaming room. We stayed there for the rest of the night, waiting for my mom to come home. When my mom arrived, we told her what happened. Not knowing what this thing was or what its intentions were with my brother, sister, and I, my parents decided it was too dangerous to stay. We moved out of the house within a day and never returned. To this day, my family is scared to talk about what we experienced.